The massive alien ship drifted silently through the star-speckled darkness, its crystalline hull reflecting pinpricks of distant light. Captain June Park stood perfectly still, his hands clasped behind his back, watching the primary viewscreen with an intensity that made his bridge crew uncomfortable. The collective's diplomatic vessel approached Earth's outer solar system perimeter, moving with what seemed like casual arrogance. No one aboard that alien craft understood what was waiting for them. June knew this moment would change everything. Elena Kim, his first officer, monitored the incoming transmission signals. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces, layering multiple encryption protocols that the aliens wouldn't even recognize as defensive measures. Years of preparation had led to this exact moment. The alien representative, a creature named Kroll, appeared on the communication screen. Its body resembled a mass of interconnected tentacles, with multiple eyes that shifted colors depending on its emotional state. Right now, those eyes were a dismissive pale green, a color that suggested complete underestimation of humanity. "Greetings, Earth representatives," Kroll's translated voice carried a patronizing tone. "We are the collective, and we wish to establish preliminary diplomatic relations." June's right eyebrow slightly raised. He understood exactly what diplomatic relations meant in the collective's language: soft invasion, cultural manipulation, and eventual subjugation. Earth had been preparing for this encounter for decades. Hidden beneath seemingly peaceful technological developments were sophisticated defense systems, quantum communication networks, and biological adaptation protocols that would make the collective's most advanced technologies look like children's toys. Elena leaned closer to June and whispered, "They have no idea what's coming." Kroll continued its transmission, listing various technological achievements and suggesting potential trade agreements. Each word was carefully crafted to sound like a generous offer, but was actually a thinly veiled threat. The collective had conquered dozens of civilizations using these exact diplomatic strategies. What they didn't know was that humanity had been studying every single one of their previous conquests. Every technological trick, every psychological manipulation technique, every potential warfare scenario had been meticulously analyzed and prepared for. The bridge crew remained calm, their training evident in every measured breath and controlled movement. Young technicians who looked barely out of their 20s managed complex systems with the precision of veteran warriors. They weren't just a military crew, they were humanity's first line of defense against an unknown threat. June's eyes never left the screen. He saw beyond Kroll's physical form. He saw a representative of a system that had grown complacent, a civilization that believed its technological superiority made it invincible. They were about to learn a harsh lesson about human adaptability. "We accept your preliminary communication," June responded, his voice neutral and professional. "Earth welcomes dialogue." Those simple words carried more weight than Kroll could possibly understand. They were not a welcome, but a challenge. They were not an invitation, but a declaration. Humanity was ready. The transmission continued, with Kroll outlining potential meeting protocols and suggesting a face-to-face diplomatic summit. Each suggestion was carefully crafted to position the collective as the superior negotiating party. Little did they know that every single transmission was being analyzed, dissected, and understood at levels far beyond their comprehension. Quantum computers were breaking down communication patterns, psychological analysts were studying linguistic nuances, and military strategists were building potential conflict scenarios. As the transmission ended, June turned to Elena. "Prepare full defensive protocols. Silent mode." She nodded, her fingers already moving across the interfaces. Layers of protection began to activate, not as obvious weapons, but as adaptive systems that could transform Earth's entire technological infrastructure into a living, breathing defense mechanism. The moment of first contact had begun. And humanity was more than prepared. The neutral space station Artemis hung like a metallic spider between star systems, its transparent domes offering a panoramic view of endless darkness. Inside the main conference chamber, representatives from Earth and the collective prepared for their first formal meeting. June Park entered the room wearing a simple dark gray uniform that seemed unremarkable. His movements were calm, almost casual, but every step was calculated. Behind him walked Elena Kim, her datapad seemingly innocuous but secretly running complex threat assessment algorithms. Kroll, the tentacled alien representative, sat at the circular conference table. Its multiple eyes tracked June's movement, shifting between shades of green and blue colors that suggested a mix of curiosity and mild condescension. The other collective diplomats surrounding Kroll appeared equally confident, their technological badges and ornate communication devices displaying obvious superiority. What they didn't know was that June's seemingly simple uniform contained more advanced technology than their entire diplomatic entourage. Microscopic quantum sensors woven into the fabric were collecting data with every movement, analyzing communication frequencies, biological signatures, and potential threat vectors. "We appreciate Earth's willingness to engage in diplomatic discussions," Kroll began, its translator creating a smooth, almost musical voice. "The collective believes in peaceful technological exchange." June listened carefully. Each word was a potential weapon, each sentence a strategic move. He understood that this wasn't just a meeting, it was a complex dance of information warfare. Elena subtly activated a small device hidden in her communication pin. It began mapping the electromagnetic signatures of every alien device in the room, creating a comprehensive technological profile that would be invaluable for future strategic planning. The collective representatives presented their initial proposal, a seemingly generous offer of technological sharing and mutual exploration. Star charts were displayed, potential trade routes outlined, and economic benefits highlighted. To an untrained eye, it would look like a perfect diplomatic engagement. But June saw beyond the surface. Each proposed trade route was actually a potential invasion corridor. Each technological sharing suggestion contained subtle mechanisms for cultural infiltration. The collective wasn't offering partnership, they were planning systematic absorption. "We appreciate your proposal," June responded, his voice calm and professional. "Earth is always interested in peaceful collaboration." Those words were carefully chosen. They committed to nothing while appearing completely cooperative. Behind the scenes, every single data packet was being analyzed, every communication channel monitored. Kroll's eyes shifted to a deep blue, a color suggesting satisfaction. The alien believed the humans were naive, easy to manipulate. It didn't realize that naivety was the furthest thing from Earth's diplomatic strategy. As the meeting continued, small devices hidden within the station's infrastructure began their silent work. Quantum communication networks mapped alien technological signatures, psychological analysis algorithms studied body language and communication patterns, and adaptive defense protocols prepared potential response scenarios. The collective saw a simple diplomatic meeting. Humanity saw the first stage of a potential conflict, and they were preparing with every breath. When the initial discussions concluded, June and Elena exchanged a nearly imperceptible glance. To an outside observer, it would seem like a routine professional interaction. But for them, it was confirmation that their preparation was working perfectly. As they left the conference chamber, the collective diplomats felt triumphant. They believed they had made significant progress in their negotiations with humanity. They had no idea that they had just walked into a carefully constructed trap, where every movement, every word, every technological interaction was being meticulously documented and analyzed. The real engagement was just beginning. And humanity was more than ready. The attack came without warning. Massive collective warships descended upon the human colony of New Terra, their energy weapons charging with deadly precision. Massive plasma cannons targeted civilian infrastructure, expecting quick capitulation and total submission. Major Hae-sun Park stood in the colony's central defense hub, her fingers hovering above a series of seemingly ordinary control panels. To any external observer, the room looked like a standard emergency management center. But beneath the surface, something extraordinary was about to happen. When the first energy weapons struck the colony's outer defensive perimeters, most alien commanders expected total destruction. Instead, something unprecedented occurred. The colony itself began to transform. Buildings that seemed like simple structures suddenly reconfigured. Residential complexes shifted their architectural designs, creating intricate defensive positions. Streets rearranged themselves into complex maze-like patterns that disrupted alien ground movement. Solar panels morphed into electromagnetic pulse generators. Water management systems converted into chemical weapon dispersal networks. Every single civilian became a potential combatant. Elderly residents who appeared frail moments ago now operated sophisticated communication interception devices. Children's playgrounds transformed into advanced sensor networks. Agricultural zones became camouflage zones with adaptive terrain manipulation capabilities. Haesung's primary strategy was brutally simple: turn the entire colony into a living, breathing weapon system. The collective's invasion forces found themselves fighting against an environment that was actively resisting them. Defensive systems didn't just block attacks, they anticipated them, redirected them, and used the aliens' own technological signatures against them. Communication networks became attack vectors. Quantum computing systems hijacked alien technological frequencies. Biological engineering techniques converted standard infrastructure into adaptive combat platforms. Kroll, watching from the invasion command ship, couldn't comprehend what was happening. The human colony wasn't just defending itself, it was actively hunting the invasion force. Drone swarms that looked like agricultural monitoring systems suddenly transformed into precision strike units. Agricultural irrigation systems became chemical dispersal networks. Residential heating systems converted into electromagnetic disruption platforms. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades. Every system, every infrastructure element had been designed with a single purpose: to transform instantly from peaceful civilian use to total warfare capability. The collective's invasion forces found themselves trapped in a nightmare scenario. They weren't fighting soldiers. They were fighting an entire living ecosystem that was designed to kill them. Major Haesung Park watched the battle unfold with cold, calculated precision. Each defensive move was a chess piece, each technological adaptation a strategic checkmate. Within hours, the invasion force that had expected total victory found itself completely destroyed. Not by traditional military might, but by the most unexpected weapon in the universe: human adaptability. The message was clear: humanity was not a species to be conquered. They were a force of nature that could transform anything, including themselves, into a weapon. As the last alien ships retreated, burning and broken, Haesung allowed herself a small, calculated smile. The real war was just beginning. And humanity was more than ready. The colony of New Terra stood intact, its infrastructure having transformed from a peaceful settlement to the most terrifying defensive platform the galaxy had ever seen. Every building, every system, every resident was now a potential weapon, waiting, watching, ready. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for total adaptation. And they would pay the ultimate price for that miscalculation. David Lee sat in a dimly lit research facility, surrounded by holographic displays and quantum computing interfaces. His fingers moved with lightning speed, dancing across systems that looked more like abstract art than technological platforms. Outside, the war between humanity and the collective raged across multiple star systems. What the aliens didn't know was that David wasn't just a researcher. He was humanity's secret weapon. The collective's primary communication network, a sophisticated quantum entanglement system they believed was unhackable, stood as their technological pride. Billions of interconnected nodes transmitted information across galaxies, creating what they considered an impenetrable communication web. David saw it differently. Where they saw strength, he saw vulnerability. Using a combination of biological computing algorithms and quantum manipulation techniques, he began his assault. It wasn't about breaking the network, it was about rewriting its fundamental understanding of communication. Human biological patterns, with their chaotic and unpredictable nature, became the ultimate weapon. David integrated human neural network patterns into the alien communication systems. Each transmission became a potential Trojan horse, carrying adaptive algorithms that could reshape entire technological infrastructures. The collective ships began experiencing strange malfunctions. Navigation systems would suddenly redirect. Weapon platforms would target their own vessels. Communication channels would burst with incomprehensible data streams that seemed to have living, breathing properties. Researcher Elena Kim supported David's work, managing external defense protocols. Her team had spent years studying alien technological signatures, preparing for this exact moment of total technological warfare. What made humans truly terrifying was their ability to see technology not as a fixed system, but as a flexible, living organism that could be manipulated at will. Quantum computers began breaking down alien communication frequencies faster than the collective could adapt. Each new defensive measure they implemented was already being countered before it could be fully activated. The aliens realized too late that they weren't fighting a traditional enemy. They were confronting a species that could transform any technological system into a weapon of unprecedented complexity. David's fingers continued their silent dance across interfaces. To an outside observer, it might have looked like he was simply typing. In reality, he was rewriting the fundamental rules of technological engagement. Entire alien fleet communication networks began to collapse. Not through traditional hacking, but through a complete reimagining of information transfer. Human creativity became the most dangerous weapon in the universe. The collective's technological superiority crumbled piece by piece. Their quantum communication networks, once considered the pinnacle of galactic technological achievement, became nothing more than complex networks waiting to be dismantled. Ships that once represented ultimate power now drifted helplessly, their systems completely compromised by human ingenuity. As the last alien communication nodes fell, David allowed himself a small, calculated smile. Humanity had done more than just defend itself. They had completely redefined the concept of technological warfare. The message was clear: humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were a force of technological evolution that could adapt, transform, and ultimately conquer anything standing in their way. Outside the research facility, stars continued their silent dance. The war wasn't over. But humanity had just demonstrated that in the universe of technological conflict, they were now the undisputed masters. The turning tide had become a tsunami of human potential. The final confrontation wasn't a battle in the traditional sense. It was a demonstration of human potential that would forever change galactic understanding. Captain June Park stood on the bridge of the Earth defense vessel Horizon, his hands clasped behind his back. Surrounding him, the remaining collective fleet drifted like wounded animals, their once mighty technological systems now reduced to barely functioning husks. A communication channel opened. Every remaining alien species watched, their sensors and communication networks locked onto this single moment of reckoning. "This is Captain June Park of Earth," he spoke, his voice calm and measured. "Let this be a clear message to the galaxy. The transmission wasn't just a communication. It was a statement of humanity's emergence as a galactic power." Behind the scenes, David Lee and Elena Kim had orchestrated a technological masterpiece. The communication itself was a complex weapon carrying adaptive algorithms, quantum encryption, and psychological warfare techniques that would reshape how the galaxy understood communication itself. Kroll, the original alien representative who had first approached Earth, watched in horror. The tentacled creature understood now what humanity truly represented: not just a species, but a force of technological and adaptive evolution that defied all previous understanding. The collective's remaining ships began a slow, calculated retreat. But it wasn't surrender. It was pure, absolute terror. Entire alien civilizations received fragments of the transmission. Each piece told a different story of human adaptability, of technological innovation that bordered on the supernatural, of a species that could turn any weakness into an unimaginable strength. June's message was simple yet profound: humanity was no longer a species to be conquered or controlled. They were a force of nature that would reshape the galaxy on their own terms. Quantum communication networks carried the transmission across star systems. Each alien civilization processed the information differently, but the core message remained the same. Humans were unpredictable, dangerous, and completely uncontrollable. Research stations across multiple star systems analyzed the transmission. What they found terrified them: layers of communication that could mean 1,000 different things, adaptive algorithms that could reshape entire technological infrastructures, psychological warfare techniques that went beyond traditional understanding. The collective's technological superiority had been completely dismantled. Not through brute force, but through human creativity, adaptability, and an understanding of technology that treated information as a living, breathing organism. As the alien fleets retreated, something fundamental had changed in the galaxy. Humanity had demonstrated that technological superiority wasn't about having the most advanced systems. It was about the ability to reimagine, adapt, and transform those systems in ways no one could predict. Captain June Park watched the retreating ships, a calculated smile forming on his lips. The war wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. The message spread across the galaxy like a quantum wave: humans were coming. And nothing would ever be the same again. In the vast silence of space, civilizations trembled. The era of human galactic emergence had begun. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of this final part of the story?